Okay. Next, we're going to discuss some current events. I think for our current events, they're usually sort of these ongoing things, and there's new developments, but we have the same kind of issues here in the States. So one thing right now is
they're continual issues, systemic. They are continuing to plague America,
the United States,
the United States,
the border crisis. I want to start there. So I remember us discussing a number of weeks back that there was a caravan, or they were calling basically a large group of 5,000 plus immigrants that were physically walking toward the border of the United States. They had come through a trail, some kind of a footpath that took them through parts of South America, up past Colombia, and past all these places to the border of Texas. Yeah. And so it's my belief that they have arrived. So I guess now it's time for the states to try to come up with pass a bill or create some kind of concession or fortify the border for this reason.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, I think we were in the early stages of it during Trump's presidency. Him talking about, we got to build the wall. We got to build the wall. I think that immigration has always been, like, recently an issue. I mean, but that's what the United States was founded on. Literally, immigration. For people that were forced to come here. I'm not gonna get into that, but happy Black History Month. So I think with this border crisis, we're seeing it like bubble over to the extent of migrants from the southern border are able to come in like almost freely, and Texas is just not having it. They're like, yo, like this is gonna really destroy Texas's ability to maintain a civil society, because I think what we're seeing is what the governor of Texas did. He started sending these migrants that were placed into their state to these democratic cities, the cities that were pushing for immigration to be allowed and loosened. So we see, like, I think there was a story in New York City where a group of illegal immigrants had came into New York City, and then they beat up a cop, and then they literally went home free. And when they were faced, like, in the media, they were just like flicking off cameras, like they had no remorse at all. So it's things like that, I think, that are just, it's like, my goodness. And then I've been seeing videos of, I can't tell if they're Hispanic or if they're Middle Eastern or
it's a mix.
China, Chinese. Russia. People are just like, you're gonna know soon why I'm here. Yeah, and it's gonna be interesting.
Oh yeah, you're talking about the video that one.
You would know who I am, but you are really not smart enough to know who I am. But soon you're gonna know who I am.
It's like, whoo, it's crazy. So,
but for me, my heart goes out to the asylum seekers, because I think that if they were willing to risk their life and physically move somewhere on foot with everything they own on their back and their child on their hip, it must mean that it was that or death. So what would you do if it was you and your family? Would you stay and die, or would you leave?
I think about the verses in the Word where the Most High is speaking to Israel, and they're all over, but he's speaking to Israel like, look, you think you're gonna escape to Egypt, and get away from my judgment, you know what I mean? Oh, yeah. They're escaping to Egypt, they're escaping to Babylon, you know what I mean? And that's the thing, what I don't think they realize. They're escaping to a place that is going to probably get firstly condemned. Yeah. Out of all these countries, for real. You know what I mean? Like America's going to be the new Gaza in a way, possibly, right? Soon. So I get it, right? People are coming from these countries where there's extreme poverty and they're losing money and they feel like there's nowhere else to turn to.
They're hungry, they're unsafe.
Yeah, and I get it, right? But, it's kind of like we go back to conversation of, well, will you really truly achieve the kind of peace that you think you're looking for here? Will you just become like walking into slave labor almost? And granted, the deception also too there is that, okay, you do have some women and children, but most of these are like 20 males in their 20s, people who are suited for war, right?
That's what they say. I
And
find that to be a news talking point. When I see photos and such, I always see women and children.
Well, I mean, again, the news is going to show what they want to show.
Yeah.
Then you have your smaller outlets. You know, a lot of there's a lot of things that happen all the time that goes under the radar because we don't actually look up stuff.
Yeah.
But we're looking at, you know, what the news says. So, you know, y'all already know me. I do think we're going to experience an in-country invasion. Again, like, you got criminals who are literally talking like, yo, like, you're going to know while I'm here soon. Like, you know. So, again, I sympathize with people what's happening. But, you know, that is being used also to funnel, I believe, soldiers here.
I agree, and I think to the point of the media utilizing this opportunity, first off, it's going to be a great discussion come debate season for this presidential election season, you know, year that we're in. So it's a great polarizing topic, but also it's a way to, I think, start to formulate some sort of agenda in those that do just watch the news, like Fox News. They're really like what they're promoting is that like we need to defend the border. So I think what we're starting to see is swaths of people, predominantly, you know, those that are MAGA and like wanting to defend America, like they have these super deep ties to America. They are going down to Texas and it's causing like civil unrest.
Yes.
You know, and like that's going to heighten up, you know, the different sides to being like, yo, like we're just gonna take up arms, like this is our country, like we're gonna do X, Y, and Z, and then it's just, you know, gosh dang, full on civil unrest. I'm not gonna say like a war, like
they're about to start upping the strap on anybody who's melanated. They're
like,
gonna be like, "Are you one of them?"
Yeah,
I mean,
show me your papers, boy. Show me your papers.
Whoa! I've been here for how long?
Yeah.
And if you do think about it, with us being in a time of war, right? Of course, it would be genius for those countries that we're at war with. Hey, since they just have their borders wide open, let's sneak our people in there. Like, it's literally like a no-brainer.
But we're not at war with Venezuela and Cuba.
You gotta realize who they're in connection with, though.
Pete. I love my Latino people. I love my Haitian people. I love all. I'm saying we're at war, quote unquote war, with Ukraine. You have the Arab nation mad at us because we funded Israel and in the genocide. You know, they're dropping bombs on the people that they've actually the people who pushed out into Gaza, who are out of Gaza in like safe zones. Now they're dropping bombs in those places in the safe zones. You know what I mean? Yeah. They're just ethnic cleansing, right? And in Russia, you have people from these ethnic groups like coming. So I'm saying, if I'm another country and I see this country that we have issues with having their borders wide open, our battle strategy is let's get some of our people in there too. Yeah, I don't have.
No, these people that are at the border, they're not coming here because they were sent by other countries for tactics of war. They're coming here because they're leaving places that are already having civil unrest.
You think
most of those people are coming from the Caribbean and South America, and they're leaving hunger, famine, and civil unrest.
I think a lot of them. You got to start. I mean, I think that there's people coming from Ukraine, from Russia, from. I mean, you got Asian communities coming here. I think there's a level of strategy that's being played by the other superpowers, Russia, China, you know, that are calculating this demise of the United States. I mean, there's a quote by the former president of Russia who said basically like the United States is ripe for civil war. Like it's a good time for the United States to have actual civil war. And I mean, I think the border crisis is one way to allow for an infiltration, invasion sort of thing. But I think
I don't doubt. Yeah,
I was just gonna say, like, I don't think that it may not necessarily be like taking up arms type of civil war. It could also be like an economic civil war. Yeah, you know.
Oh, weird.
Like with sanctions.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, I don't doubt we have people who are really struggling coming from countries. Like I said, my heart goes out to those people.
Yeah.
I mean, but to be honest, I understand I grew up here, right? I understand I grew up here, but I want to leave too. Like, I just recognize it's not time for me. The Most High has not moved me to leave and go to Africa, go to Kenya,
not yet,
right?
Not yet.
It's just not yet. There's still work to be done here. So I understand. Like I'm somebody who seems privileged, and I'm coming from this privileged perspective. But I'm also thinking that I understand how wicked this place is, and I understand the judgment coming. And I don't think other people coming here have that spiritual life or that spiritual understanding, even of the word and prophecy, to understand this country and what its place
yes,
is.
it's kind of like what we just talked about in the precept, because they know, everyone knows of sin. We live on planet Earth, but in some places,
you'll be surprised.
But people are coming from some places that are so innocent that they couldn't fathom the things that go on here. Even if they're coming from extreme poverty,
So
it's
they're
still
coming from
family
ignorance.
structure. But they don't even know the level of evil that people do, because to them they do the most normal of quiet town things. Like they're coming from places where people still grow their own food.
Yeah.
There's husband, wife, children, grandparents. You take care of the elders.
Yeah.
When they pass away, you have certain practices. That is where they're coming from.
And
They don't even
realize
they wouldn't
2 generations
believe
later from the family who decided
things
to
that
move
go
here,
here.
all those values are out the window.
are gone. Yeah, they don't know that.
So they don't realize like this country is going to destroy their soul. Like, okay, cool.
That is not in consideration at all. They're not thinking about that.
Right.
Yeah.
But with those people coming, hey, the strategy is let's sneak some of our people who some of our soldiers in with them and disguise themselves as some of these people. Again, like you have literal criminals being interviewed. Granted, not to say criminals don't deserve a second chance, and stuff like that. But if you just listen to the tone and discern the arrogance and how some of them are talking, you can see, okay, there's something. This isn't I'm trying to turn over a new leaf in my life with some of them. This is trying to be savages out there.
Yeah. And maybe I was told to act this way or act a little bodacious because I kind of got some immunity.
These are just crisis actors out here just lining up thousands of
Crisis actors is a real thing, though.
Yeah,
it is.
But I don't know. I think that there's a strategy being played by the enemies of the United States as well in this crisis. But Teo Ministries, he did this video. It was like 2 weeks ago. I watched it. And it was talking about the border crisis, but he went to like the international law book, like their definitions. There's a difference in definitions between a migrant and a refugee. So like a refugee is
so important.
Yeah, a refugee is someone who is leaving like an area due to circumstances that are forcing them to leave, like a war or a famine, and they're seeking asylum in a new country. So like they're treated differently than how migrants are. Migrants are just people that get up and I want to go
willingly
here.
Leave.
Yeah, willingly leave. So that was interesting from my perspective because I'm like, well, we do have some refugees coming in, but we also have migrants coming in as well. So it's like kind of they're treated differently depending on where they come from. So and also I think when we flee, we're gonna be treated. I'm believing as refugees, and being received by other countries is like, okay, like yes, we have space for you. We actually have land for you.
That's word.
So
you shall fly on the backs of the Philistine. You shall. He'll use the other nations to get us out of our predicament.
Yeah,
that's word.
Good.
So, no, it's very interesting. Definitely something I think is going to continue to be promoted or talked about in the media throughout this year. So we're going to have to keep up with it.
Okay, good stuff.
Man, we beat that dead horse.
We did.